Live from New York. It's a show that's congratulating Nick's sister on a brand new family edition.
Yeah. Francesca, welcome to the family.
Great.
My baby niece as of 10 minutes ago.
Congratulations.
That is
Absolutely.
awesome.
Congrats to my sister Joanna and Dan.
Congratulations, Joanna and Dan. Who's coaching that team? JJ went analyst mode. Like, buddy, you're the coach. Brew, is this a bad night or a bad sign?
Well, you remember they were saying he might be, the Lakers thought he could be the next Pat Riley.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was a page out of Pat Riley's book.
Just ripping your
Jeff
own
Van
stuff.
Gundy. Yeah, I covered Van Gundy was like that. Like, no excuses. I like that. No excuses. Now, they were, and I'm glad you said it, they weren't only missing LeBron, they were missing two other starters in Hachimura and Jackson Hayes. Now, all of a sudden, Jackson Hayes.
Yeah, well, without Jackson Hayes, what are we going to do?
But still, he does fit what they do. And still, Redick is like, we got to execute. We can win if we just do what we do.
Yeah, you're playing the Nets.
So, yeah, I like, right, especially playing the Nets. But I like that. But it was both. It was a bad night, obviously. Everything he said was right. They didn't play hard enough. They didn't execute well enough. When you're missing that many guys, you got to really be dialed in and communicate on defense. Lucas even said they didn't communicate well enough defensively. And you hope the reserves who are getting more minutes because of the injuries really look at it like, man, oh, this is my night to shine. And they didn't, and so they went down. So it was a bad night in that. And then as far like Austin Reeves, and I think he'll get it together, but since he's been back from injury, he has been very bad. Last night he was 3 for 14. He's shooting 25% since he's been back from injury. So he'll get it going, but he was bad last night. And Luka still just isn't, where he needs to be. Right. And I think he's working back towards it. Silver lining again, maybe this will be, he's got to put more on his shoulders with LeBron out. So he'll have to work more into who he really is. But he didn't play well last night either. I also think, Nick, the refs, because there were some, and this was going around
a
lot.
Shoved in the back.
Right.
Oh.
There was but that was like some of the calls he complained about were a little iffy.
Like, what are you doing?
You saw him.
The shove,
That was ridiculous.
it seemed aggressive.
That should have not only been a foul, that should have been like a flagrant foul.
Or a technical or something.
Yeah,
whatever.
And so I think the refs, though, which I kind of understand it just from a human perspective, they're like, man, look, we're tired of you, dude. Like, every time there is anything close to contact, you go off and show us up and all this stuff. Now, he should have got that call, don't get me wrong. But some of the stuff he was bemoaning was not bad.
That is Luka, and if he goes beyond, then they should tee him up. And if he goes beyond again, throw him out of the game, like do whatever you want. But part of being a professional goes both ways.
I agree with that.
The refs can't be like, and I agree with you, as a human being, it seems reasonable. But the professional thing can't be, you're irritating me, so I'm not going to do literally what I'm paid here to do.
I agree with you.
And I also thought I should have had Dust pull the video. My apologies. But I didn't know we were going to get into this. Also, midway through the fourth quarter, they just robbed him of an and one. He was saying that the foul was on the floor, and there was literally no contact until he was shooting. And that, in a game this close, that could have mattered. But I agree with everything Bruce said, and I wrote most of it down. Point one, Luka needs to be Luka.
So when is that going to happen? We're past the injury. We got a little bit of injury. All right, working back. All right, new team, a little bit. Like, when am I starting to worry about this?
I would not ever be worried about it. Because, I don't think no player at 26 years old who's been first-team All-NBA with merit and last year could have deservingly been the league MVP who didn't suffer a catastrophic injury just stops being that player.
I don't want to be argumentative. He was also,
traumatized?
No.
Oh.
That's part of it, the depression of moving across. And I know that the narrative is Nico Harrison and the Mavs are total fools.
That's not just the narrative. It's accurate.
Perhaps, but I'm just not willing.
Well,
I'm carving out a slice of, hey, maybe they have got a point.
But
this is what they're saying, and I'm more on Nick's side, obviously, but they're saying you see Luka, yeah, he's still great, but he's not what he was a couple years ago, and they're thinking in 3 or 4 years he will.
Yeah, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. They didn't trade their own explanation, even if they're not fools, which they were. And we can't go from going into the Celtics game, us all being agog that this has happened. The Lakers have gotten Luka. They're on an 8-game winning streak. And then they lose a tough game against Celtics. LeBron gets hurt. They have a bad game last night.
I'm just saying I'm not willing to say I'll never be worried.
But to be clear, they did not in there, and they gave every explanation there was, at any point be like, we don't think he's as good anymore. They were saying, we think in 3 years he might not be as good as he is now, and that's when this contract's going to be $60+ million a year. He was at his absolute best he's ever been as a pro last season and was playing at a very similar level the month leading into Christmas when he got hurt. So I am not worried about Luka at all, but he needs to play better.
And in fairness, he has, I mean, the numbers don't look tremendous with the Lakers, but he has played well. He's had some big games. That's why we both picked him to win the West.
8 of 20. Listen, 8 of 26. His shot has not been as reliable as it will be. So that's the first point. I'm not worried about that at all. Austin Reeves has to be way better. You mentioned it since the injury. So I think he's playing himself back into it. And then the last one, they have to get healthy-ish. You can't play in the NBA 6'8" and under. You just can't. And Alex Len, you're better off playing 6'8" and under or giving Alex Len him. And listen, I've saved. Rob Pelinka's earned, a grace period by not hanging up on Nico Harrison. However, being Alex Len was going to come save the day, and then is relegated to the bench immediately because there's a reason he was out of basketball. We're seeing it again whenever he plays. But here's the reality. 6 games in 8 days because of the wildfires. 4 of those are against Denver and Milwaukee, and they're both back-to-backs. They're at Milwaukee, at Denver, then they have a day off, then it's a back-to-back.
And Phoenix won't be a
Suns, Spurs, and then a day off, and then back-to-back Nuggets, Milwaukee. So I've just resigned myself to, I think they're dropping to the 4-5.
Well,
I think they're dropping to the 4-5, and I think, again, glass half full guy, we are in store for an all-time round 2 of these NBA playoffs. We're out east. We have Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Boston, New York. And out west, we have OKC, Lakers, and Denver, Golden State. And that is what, I mean, again, there's a lot of, the puzzle pieces have to drop right, but Denver right now is a favorite to me to be the 2. Golden State is a favorite to be the 6. So that would mean Golden State would have to knock off Memphis. But so, I think that's what we're looking at. And I'm not worried about the Lakers in round 1 against Houston or Memphis. And I think that, LeBron will, obviously they've got to get LeBron back. But in the meantime, they need to get one of their guys who's 6'10" or taller back, or they're going to have trouble against every team. The only way they can compete in those games is with LeBron and Luke out there, and LeBron's obviously not back.
Let me throw this out there too, Wilds. During their 2-month stretch as the best defense in the league, and people had talked about this, but, obviously they were packing in the paint and not giving up threes, but, trying to direct the bad three-point shooters on the other teams to shoot threes, and it was working. Whereas the opponents shot 33% from three-point range over those 2 months against the Lakers. And that was best in the league.
It's going to swing back.
Yeah, because the league average is near 36% from 3. So you would think that is going to come back. In the last 2 games, teams have shot 37%. In Boston and last night, Brooklyn. Yeah. So if that comes back, the defense should still be good, but it may not be tops in the league.
All right, meanwhile, Denver bounced back in a back-to-back against OKC. Joker had 35 and 18 as Denver put 140 on the league's best defense. After the game, Michael Malone weighed in on the Jokic SGA MVP race.
Yeah, and Luka wins it last year. So, guys, listen, I'll make you a deal, Michael Malone and Nuggets Twitter and everyone. Until he retires, make the logo Jokic's silhouette. And then can we just pause on all of this, that every single day it has to be a new version of, man, not only is he the best player in the world, not only might they win the title, He should win every award and every big round number game. Is that the greatest offensive game we've ever seen? Was the 30-20-20 the single greatest sports feat of the 21st century? Some people are saying it. And how often are we going to change long-established rules for the same guy and then change them back? So we already decided you can be a 6th seed and win MVP even if you've never gone on a deep playoff run if you're Nikola Jokic. We almost decided you can win 3 in a row, which only one guy had done in the modern era, and win your 3rd without ever being in a finals, which no one had done if you're Nikola Jokic. And then last year, we correctly said, when these were the numbers between him and Luka, you know what? I don't care that the left-hand column we've never seen before and seems make-believe it's so good. The very top of it is what MVP is about. That 57 wins and tied for the best record versus 50 wins and right around 4th place, that guy is going to get 81st place MVP votes, and that guy's going to get 4. And now this year we're saying, you know that logic? The exact opposite's true. Actually, it's just about the eye-popping numbers we've never seen, and the winning is not what's going to get you the MVP. There is no possible logic to, I voted for Jokic last year, I'm voting for Jokic this year. Which
you don't think there's logic to voting for Jokic?
No, I'm saying I think Brew's in an interesting place because, Brew, I think you were one of 4 people who voted for Luka last year, first in MVP. I think you were.
I gotta be honest. I gotta look.
My point is there is no logic to last year. Joker was the league's most valuable player over Luka. And then this year, Joker is the league's most valuable player over Shea. Because the argument for Joker last year is the argument for Shea this year.
What was Dallas seeded last year?
4.
Okay, so
but it was a 7-game gap. This is an 11-game gap.
Right. Like, I have SGA as my MVP, and he will get my vote, you know, barring some astronomical change. However, there's a logic. Like, they're the 2 seed. All right, Denver is the 2 seed, not the 4 seed. Now, I know it's close, and maybe they'll fall. But at the same time, his numbers are better than Luka's were last year. He's averaging a triple-double. He'll be the first center to ever average a triple-double.
And Shea's numbers are better than his were last year, than Joker's.
But my point, no, but you're saying there's no logic to like, if you voted for Luka last year, you can't vote
for... No, if you voted for Joker last year, then you have to vote for Shea this year.
I guess the point I'm making, winning, I'm making is I think you're getting mad at Michael Malone or getting mad at somebody for saying they think Jokic is the MVP. I think that's way overboard. Like I said, I think it's Shea, and some of the reason, because you said Shea is leading the league in scoring. Shea is efficient too, just like Jokic. Shea is tied for 2nd in the league in steals on the best defensive team in the league. Mm-hmm. His team has an 11-game lead over Denver, all right? And Shea is doing it with the 2nd youngest team in the league. And he's essentially their only star. All right, so there are reasons to vote for Shea. I'm just saying, to act like, how dare you vote for Nikola Jokic? You're an idiot. I don't agree with that logic.
I'm not saying you're an idiot. And I'm a guy who last year thought there was a real case for Luka. And by that logic, I must say there is a real case for Joker. What I don't like the Calvin Ball element of heads I win, tails you lose to MVP discussions around this specific player. I've never seen anything like it where there were long-established norms forever that we are just chipping away every year in service of one player.
But I think
I've never seen it.
Here's what I say about the norms are like unwritten.
Yes. All right?
They're unwritten rules, and sometimes you get new voters because a lot of the voters are beat writers. And so you have younger voters coming in. I started voting almost 30 years ago. And at that time, I was like, Give it to Michael Jordan every year. He's the best player, period. I remember writing a column when Karl Malone, I was like, Jordan's the best. Just because we want to give one to a great player like Karl Malone, it should be the best player every year. But now I've changed my view over the years. And so the thing is that you've got different voters with different mentalities, different criteria. Again, I think Shea will and should win it. But the one thing I would say that's unwritten that should stick, we have, just for history's sake, we have never just given it to the best player every year. Because Jordan and LeBron and Kareem, they would have had even more MVPs.
And this is the frustrating thing about what Michael Malone said, where he's like, if one guy didn't have 3, you wouldn't be saying this. Yeah, you very well might be right. But everyone has always understood the hardest MVP to win is your next one. That whatever you needed to do to win your first, you need to do more to win your second. And whatever you need to do to win your second, you have to do even more to win your third. And whatever you had to do to win your third, you have to be not only an all-time legend, which he is, but an all-time legend when no one else is having an all-time season to win your 4th or 5th or 6th. That's how it's always been. And so I don't can we just put up real quick the Luka Joker numbers last year to remind people? And you're right, the seeding gap was bigger, but the games, the record gap was far closer. It was 50 wins. It was a 7-game record gap. This was not a close race. Luka got 4 first-place votes. Brew was one of them. He got 80. So, and again, look at it. Joker was obviously more efficient from the field, less efficient from 3. The passing numbers, the scoring is massive, massive. And it was a rout because we were like, no, he's on the best team that we think's going to win the title. And he's having an awesome year. How can that be the standard for last year's MVP and this year's Shea not be an overwhelming favorite, Wilds? That's what I don't think is right. I just think it is inconsistent.
Isn't Shea the overwhelming favorite? Isn't there like a 820?
Yeah, I think Shea's going away.
I don't even know what a dollar gap. What are we calling that?
That's not
odds gap or something. Like, what do you want to call that? Is that the significant gap?
Right now, the odds are significantly in Shea's favor. It narrowed huge over one game over the weekend. It opened back up after the Thunder beat them. But there is you're saying I'm getting mad at Michael Malone. Michael Malone was doing, I think, what you're kind of accusing me of doing. Michael Malone was saying, if you don't think,
he's going to bat for his
he was doing
too,
that. He was saying, you don't know basketball if you don't think this guy's the MVP. And I think that is...
Yeah, he's saying blind resume. The guy who, when we rubber stamp...
He's about to average a
Russ's triple-doubles for MVP. It's like, this looks great. Like, I get what he's saying. I also would vote for SGA if I had a vote. But I understand it. I also don't necessarily think he was even talking about the MVP. I think he's just trying to gas his team up and gas.
Yeah, he's just trying to support his player.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.